Graphing using a rectangular coordinate system. In order to be able to start to graph lines or plot points, we have to start with the basics. You have an XY plane, which means you have an x-axis as well as a y-axis. Your x-axis is horizontal and your y-axis is vertical. Every plane has 4 quadrants. You have your first quadrant, which any point that falls in this area is going to have a positive x and a positive y. And we'll talk about that in a minute. You have quadrant 2, where x is going to be a negative number and y is going to be a positive. You have quadrant 3, where x and y are both negative numbers. And then you have quadrant 4, where x is positive and y is negative. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, before we start to make lines, we're going to start with plotting points. So let's start with the point that we call specifically the origin. The origin has a coordinate point of 0, 0. And that is because it falls where the x-axis is 0 and on the y-axis where it's 0. So every coordinate point or you may hear it be called an ordered pair. Every ordered pair or coordinate point has 2 numbers. The first number is in reference to your x-axis and the second number is in reference to your y. So let's try to practice plotting points. Just going to label my graph here. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. Notice that below the x-axis on the y, these are all negative numbers. And notice on the x-axis to the right, these are all positive numbers. 4, 5, 6. Notice that all the numbers above the x-axis on the y-axis are also positive. So I have +1, +2, 3, 4, and 5. And on the x-axis, finally, to the left are all of your negative numbers. -1, -2, -3, -4, and -5. So let's start with some basic points. What if I wanted to plot the point, and I'm going to label it point A, if it had the coordinates -3, 4? Well, since the first number is x and the second number is y, that means that on the x-axis I'm going to go to -3, which is right here, and I'm going to go up to 4 on the y-axis. So as you can see, where the 4 and the -3 intersect, that's where you're going to plot your first point. Let's try another one. Let's try -4, 0. I'm going to label that point B. -4, 0. So that means on the x-axis I'm going to go to -4, and on the y-axis I'm going to stay on 0. So this means I'm going to go to the x-axis, and I got 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm on -4, and since y is 0, I'm not going to move up or down. That's label B. Let's try another one. I'm going to label this point C. Let's try +2, -2. Again, my x-axis, I'm going to go to a +2, and on my y-axis, I'm going to go to a -2. So on the x-axis, you want to move over to the number 2, and then you're also going to go down 2. So my point is where 2 and -2 intersect, and I'm going to label that C. Let's just do one more. We'll label this point letter D, and this coordinate will be 4, 0. So on the x-axis, I'm going to go over to number 4, And since y is 0, I'm not going to move up or down. So I'm going to go over to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's my dot, because again, I'm not moving up or down because y is 0. Not only do you need to be able to plot points, but you also need to be able to identify what the coordinates are. So I've plotted a few points here. So I'm just going to leave a space for us to actually write what the answer is. Let's look at the letter T. What coordinate does that fall on? Well, I can see that I go over 1, 2, 3, 4. I go to the -4 on the x-axis. So that is my x coordinate. And I want to see how many times do I have to go up. Well, I can see that it's up 1, 2 on the positive side. So my coordinate for the letter T is -4, 2. Let's look at the letter N. Since the letter N falls on the intersection between the x and the y-axis, that means I am at 0, 0 on the x and the y-axis. Let's look at letter J. Letter J, I'm on the positive side of the x-axis, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have a +4. And since I did not go up or down, I'm going to write 0 for y. And last but not least, let's look at letter S. I can see that I went over 1, 2 on the positive side of x. But on the y-axis, we're going down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm going to get a -8 here. So there we worked backwards. First, we plotted points, and then we looked at points and read what their coordinates would be.